Hey, before today's episode, I want you to do me a favor by hitting that subscribe or follow button in front of you, depending on what platform you're currently using to listen to my podcast. I upload weekly, currently aiming to maybe put out 2 episodes per week, but until then, it is new episode every Sunday, 1 p.m. here in Vancouver or 8 p.m. GMT, if you even know what that means. So make sure you're also following Gentleman Pursuits on every social media as well. If you don't, you're missing out on some really, really good content I put out every day. Once again, it's Gentleman Pursuits. Hey, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to my podcast, Gentleman Pursuits. Hope everyone is doing fine. Had fun on Halloween? Yeah, I bet you did. I had fun as well. Didn't go out partying or clubbing or doing stuff people normally do on Halloween. I actually stayed in and watched a movie and enjoyed a fine glass of Woodford Reserve bourbon. It was a pretty fun night, okay? Don't judge. So another thing I want to bring up before going into today's topic is that recently I've been, browsing through the net and chatted with a few of my friends and asked them, do you read articles online? And if yes, do you usually prefer them to be a quick read, or do you wish the article would have gone in depth? Almost all of them said quick read. That kind of surprised me in a way, but not as well. It surprised me as in, like, no one would want to look into details of whatever they're reading, and the not so surprising part is that they do not want to spend 10 to 15 minutes on an article that goes super in depth in a topic, as they find that really time consuming. I mean, to be honest, I find that pretty time consuming as well. So that made me think, and I've decided to make articles I publish on Gentleman Pursuits to be quick reads. So I've decided to shift the direction on the approach on the approach of the whole article theme. In that way, readers would actually be willing to learn, as they are all going to be a really fast reads. Imagine this. So let's say you're waiting in line for coffee, or you're just standing there waiting for an elevator or a bus to come, right? So because we spend a lot of the day just waiting for stuff to happen, so why not use that time, pull out your phone and learn something within 3 to 5 minutes, right? So this is what I'm aiming for. This is what I'm currently trying to achieve, and I want to be as transparent as I can for those who are currently following my podcast or website, and for future followers, so you have an idea on what I'm trying to do with my website. So if you have any idea or opinion on the website, please let me know. You can direct message me on both Facebook and Instagram. I am currently thinking of doing the whole texting thing, putting your number on Instagram page so people can text you, but I'm still figuring that out. So in the meantime, if you have any feedback on the podcast or the website, please feel free to drop a message, whether it's super negative or positive. They will all be super helpful to me. So speaking of positive feedback, do you know which watchmaker gets a lot of positive feedback? Huh? Yep, you guessed it. I'm doing the whole cliche thing, even though I know you didn't guess it. Yep, it's IWC. So in today's episode, I want to talk about IWC, the International Watch Company. IWC is actually a world-renowned brand for producing innovative watches that are superbly crafted. I myself have been admiring this brand for a long time. Matter of fact, one of my favorite watches of all time is from IWC, which I will get into more details later. So the IWC, founded by the one and only Florentine Jones. In his early age, he was already a deputy director and manager of the company he used to work for, which is called E. Howard Watch and Clock Company. So at this current age of his life, which is 27-year-old, compared to most 27 years old nowadays, they be like, this is great. I love where I'm at, where I am right now. But for Jones, he was not satisfied and once again never settled for less. So he headed to Switzerland to pursue his watchmaking business. Jones' encounter with the Swiss watchmaking community is sort of a bumpy ride. The Western Switzerland community was skeptical of Jones' unorthodox business plan, and they were like the Black Panther, I'd say, and be like, oh, we don't do that here. Right, so Jones searched again and again and finally found a place he could call home, Schaffhausen. One really fun fact about this is that during his visit in Schaffhausen, he met this really experienced pocket watch manufacturer, Jonah Moser. Now, Moser runs a hydraulic plant which is powered by the nearby river and was supplying electricity to local businesses at a very low price. This is exactly what Jones was looking for, a sufficient amount of energy to run his company at a low price. And so, the International Watch Company finally settled down in the little town called Schaffhausen. The IWC really established its presence in the early years. Let's take the pocket watch that contains the Jones movements from way back. It's now a highly coveted item for collectors. Also, IWC was the first to release pocket watches with digital hours and minutes displays. Amazing, eh? So this will be another thing I will get back into later on. But in 1880, Jones sold IWC to the Rauschenbachs family and remained in the family for 4 generations. The company actually went through many changes of leadership, which includes some of the most famous people that had ever lived here on planet Earth. That includes the psychiatrist Carl Jung. Carl Jung actually married one of the Rauschenbach's daughter, and so the company was then owned by Jung for a bit until he sold his share of the company. As I mentioned earlier, the company has had a lot of different owners throughout the years, and one of the owners was even an Olympic champion rower, which he led IWC into developing timepieces for sports and diving. So, you may ask, when exactly is the pivotal point for IWC? When did IWC wristwatches become successful? I guess the booming period for IWC would be in the 30s. So IWC started, they released a series of pilot watches, and they actually pioneered the classic cockpit instrument look, which is now widely adapted into various pilot watches, but IWC did it first. IWC would later proceed to supply pilot watches for the Royal Air Force, such as the Mark 11 Navigator. Well, for nowadays, I don't think I even need to get into details and tell you how successful the series is. Another really famous series of watch issued in the 30s from IWC would be the Portugieser. An instantly recognizable piece, large-sized, and has a distinctive style. Another interesting fact to know here is that the reason why the series was named Portugieser was because 2 importers from Portugal in 1939 ordered a series of large wristwatches with high precision pocket watch calibers. Now, this was considered bizarre, as wristwatches back then were usually small, so not to be obstructive, right? But who knew that these large face watches quickly caught on, right? In modern days, IWC incorporated a lot more advanced technology into the Portugieser, including the perpetual calendar, the tourbillon, and minute repeater. These are just some of them. Now comes my favorite watch from IWC. Although this series I'm going to talk about is not from the 30s, but I'll talk about it anyway because it's also a really defining moment in IWC history. It's the Da Vinci Perpetual Calendar Chronograph. This family of watches is paying homage to the inventive genius Leonardo da Vinci. The earlier model from Da Vinci series has a completely different look. The original 1969 Da Vinci is hexagonal, with the extremely accurate Beta 21 quartz movement. But in 1985, IWC decided to take the Da Vinci series to a whole different direction. Designed by the legendary watchmaker Kurt Klaus, who adopted the autonomous perpetual calendar function into the watch and changed the hexagon to a more refined look with leather straps and a double-framed circular dial. The watch is designed to run accurately, even accounting for leap years for the next 577 years. Yes, the watch is accurate for the next 577 years, by which the watch can be passed down through many generations without ever needing to adjust the date. So last year, in 2018, the International Watch Company celebrated its 150-year anniversary, where they released the Jubilee collection to celebrate it. So one of the most interesting watch that instantly caught my attention was the IWC tribute to Paul Weber. So remember when I said IWC released the first ever pocket watch with a digital display for hours and minutes, right? The IWC tribute to Paul Weber limited edition took the exact design of the pocket watch and made it into a wristwatch. There's just something about this watch that made it look really high class, and I mean really elegantly high class. And this actually applies to all of the IWC watches. I absolutely love everything, every piece, every release from IWC. I'm a huge fan, and I'm pretty sure and I'm certain that IWC will continue to amaze us in the future. Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to the latest episode of the podcast. Make sure you hit that subscribe or follow button in front of you. I'm not sure if you're listening this on Spotify or Anchor, but either way, make sure you're following me on every social media platform, on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Anchor, Spotify, everything. Just make sure you're following me. You'll get the latest news on articles, uploads, podcasts, new news, all kind of posts on watches and whiskeys. If you're not, you're missing out. So yeah, make sure you're following us. And until next Sunday, have a great week, guys. Stay safe. I'll see you guys.